I haven't had any coffee yet, man. That's the problem.
Oh, this bodes so well.
It's going to be great. I'm very excited. We're going to have a great chat today because we have none other than Tom Jurassic back on the show. Tom, we've had people begging for you like to come back to the show. Like, where's Tom? Where's Tom? The crowd has been cheering and chanting. They want to know where you've been and what have you been doing. So welcome back, man.
Yeah.
How's it been? It's been like not even that long, but they just want to know where you've been.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I actually had quite a busy summer. So I work freelance for myself, and a lot of the time my work is with charities and small businesses. But I actually picked up some last minute marketing for a touring performance of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, which was very interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I was running like all their Facebook adverts, so it was a really different experience. And yeah, between work, I have seen Rebirth. There's been a couple of events here. I've been to a couple of things in London. Kind of took a step away from the Jurassic train for a little bit, but back on it now. I think some things in recent months have reinvigorated my interest.
Yeah, they've either driven you away or reinvigorated you. So there's things in recent months that have made you go both ways there. So, but today we're going to talk about a few different things that have made you excited or concerned, whatever the case may be. On the schedule, we've got some Jurassic World Evolution 3 discussion. So you've been doing a lot there, and also our typical conversation piece that we always talk about is chaos theory, and we got the trailer for, or like I guess it was a trailer. Was it a teaser or a trailer? I don't know what we consider that one, but chaos theory season 4, which is nice. And then we've been kind of like very slowly and carefully been rolling out like content regarding like Rebirth and like the contributors and what people think. Like, I held off on airing myself and Jay talking about it for like a few weeks, and then like Aaron literally just saw it like a week or two ago, and now you just saw it today. Actually, it's for the first time ever. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But no, but you are gonna spill your thoughts here on the show, and I don't know how much you've like spoken about the movie like out online or anywhere else, but like I'm excited to hear your thoughts and get your take, because I know like. And the thing is, I've been saying this, I want to try to keep my thoughts mostly out of it, because I have been like really talking about it a lot. So I want to get like your thoughts specifically. So I'm excited, man. We got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I was going to say, I don't actually think I have spoken about Rebirth that much online, and maybe that's a useful thing to just frame our conversation with.
Yeah, I mean that's the same framing that I've been feeling as well. So before we get there, we'll get there at the end. We'll middle this episode with Chaos Theory, but we're starting here with Jurassic World Evolution 3, and you've had Frontier in the email box for a while now, as have I, and it's like they're sending stuff constantly. There's stuff dropping like even still. And the game is coming out fairly soon. It's pretty soon. Yeah. And you just recently had the chance to go to like a preview event that looked like it was pretty exciting and a lot of fun. So tell me, like, how was that? Kind of walk us through it. I know you did put out an article. So if anybody does want to see that, I think it's this one, but you put out an article on the website, JurassicParkPodcast.com, talking about how you did play
I feel
Evolution
so
3.
bad for those other guys in that top photo. Like, I was so focused on the scientists.
What are they looking at? But yeah, there's some good pictures. What was that, a bumper for a car? What was that?
I can talk. Shall I talk you through the event? I can, if you want to leave this up, I can talk you through kind of how it works. So I think the first thing
who are these people? right here in this picture. No,
That is actually Cabot Finch.
oh,
So I think the first thing to say is actually a huge congratulations to the team at Frontier, the PR company, yours truly, who were kind of managing stuff for the creators, but also like everybody who was involved in this event, Secret Cinema, who do kind of like immersive
oh,
productions
they
in the
were.
UK. So they've done stuff with Stranger Things.
That's
Yeah,
amazing. I
they
didn't know they were
were
involved.
a
I've
part
I've
of
been getting
this.
I've been getting emails from them for years because they've always put on like awesome
Yeah,
looking events, and I always just want to know about them because I think maybe they did like a Back to the Future one like years and years ago
yeah,
or something, and I've like always followed them since then or something. So, but that's cool. I didn't know they were involved
yeah.
in that.
Yeah, so I don't know the extent of their involvement. I'm assuming they provided the live action actors, and also
Mm.
the live action performance. So it was really cool because it was basically a story of kind of two halves. So there was the immersive experience and then game time with the actual game itself. Um, but that game time also had an element of interactivity, which I'll come on to. So I'll kind of give you the talk through of what happens. So basically, you arrive, and there's this where it is in London. It's not that far down from the Barbican estate. So the Barbican estate is something that was built in the 80s. I think it was the 80s, either the 70s or the 80s. And it's basically a massive housing estate, but the whole visual design of that estate is it uses urban brutalism. So it's buildings that have got like exposed concrete, very obvious brickwork, quite obvious structural details. So naturally, when you merge that with Jurassic, it looks very appropriate. It's interesting because the actual Rebirth event that I went to a couple of months back happened at the Barbican Centre. So this was just down the road from where that Rebirth event happened. And what they had done was taken over this entire building. So they had the glass entry area for it. I think it's usually an education facility, because there was like a space for sixth form, which in the UK is what you go into after secondary school. And there was like this sign somewhere for sixth form that was a bit out of place, but we were like, well, clearly that's what the building normally is. But they had put this signage everywhere, and what they had basically done is transformed it into a dinosaur integration network facility. So for anyone who hasn't been paying much attention to Jurassic World Evolution 3 story mode, the Dinosaur Integration Network is the organization run by Cabot Finch within Jurassic World Evolution 3 story mode that is going to. I kept
Sorry, I
going
didn't
there.
mean
I
to
didn't
play the
get thrown off.
music.
It is the organization that is run by Cabot Finch. And as the name says, it's all about integrating dinosaurs into the wild. So obviously that post-Jurassic World Dominion ecosystem where dinosaurs are now everywhere. So that's kind of the main through thread of the narrative campaign in this particular iteration of the game. And then that's what they brought to life with this facility. So you can see from the photos they had raptor signs, they had dinosaur integration network signs, information about the different locations in the campaign, loads of different things to just make it really immersive. You sort of meet a receptionist who works for the DIN, and you're introduced as a park manager. You then waited in the reception area for a short period of time. And after that little period of time, the couple of scientists you see at the top of the article came out, they introduced themselves to us, and then they split us into two groups. And it kind of worked very much like the Barbican event I've referenced before, where they had some immersive activities. So basically, we were taken, firstly, our group was taken down the stairs to a area that was essentially all about different environments. There was a specific name for it. It might have been paleobotany, or something else, but it was this area of the facility. It was all to do with environments. So in the photo that flashes up either here or below of the kind of glass container, what they had was three different environments. So they had, I think, Japan, Malta, and Hawaii, and it was plants from each different environment in these simulated terrariums that you could look at. And then they had a map that showed different locations from the game. They also had a desk with sort of scientific pieces set up and a Snickers mug, which was a nice little reference to Rebirth. And then the scientists kind of talked you through the environments a little bit. We were then taken outside to the area where that was perfect timing. There was a ranger who was basically saying he had just had a feeding session with some juvenile Lokiceratops who were contained underneath where we were stood. And he needed us to help him collect bits of cabbage and stuff and put them back in the buckets for them to go into storage. And then they showed us some Lokiceratops eggs that they had on the side as well. And this was kind of all in an outdoor courtyard area where normally members of the public would be able to just walk through. So you can see the stairs in the backdrop of that photo. So it was quite cool that they had created this environment where usually members of the public would be. And then they had the Jurassic World Evolution 3 logo on some bushes in the background, which was quite cool as well. It's just a little bit of theming. So those were kind of the two activities. Then you rounded it up by going back into the room, and that's where the canoe that keeps flashing up was. And they, alongside the canoe, they had a large-scale table map that had like 3D printed buildings, and you could take the buildings apart to see the modularity like in the game. They also had concept art on the wall that showed some of the different combinations you could make. They had a deflated balloon in the corner to represent the balloon tour that's now part of the game. They had different types of fencing, like scale models of them that you could stand next to and look at. And they also had Jurassic World banners and the canoe itself to represent the river ride. So loads and loads of immersive stuff. Thank you for bringing this up because you'll see more of the whole environment in this video as well. And then the one bit I didn't capture that well because I was completely flabbergasted by how cool it was after you had done all of these immersive bits, they then took us downstairs a couple of flights to the room where the gameplay was taking place. And all I can say to you, Brad, is I was pinching myself because I've grown up watching shows like E3, and it was basically walking into one of those sets that they have set up for creators where there were rows of computers everywhere. They had this big like LED screen going all the way around this circular room. They had DIN logos everywhere. They had a stage where people in character were talking about the DIN and talking about us becoming park managers. And then they sat us down at our stations where we got to play the game. They had in-universe food, so the Dino-Mex food was actually at our stations for us, which was really cool. I was too scared to eat during the gaming session, so I just took mine with me at the end. But they had all these things set up, and then the secret cinema element of it that was really cool was towards the end, there was kind of this like fizzing noise, like one of the generators had gone and some of the lights started popping, and the LED lights that went all the way around the room started going in and out. And I mean, the UK power networks can be a bit of an issue sometimes, so I kind of just assumed that there was a problem with the generators and they needed to fix it. But no, it was part of the experience because eventually all of the systems got hacked by a rival group. So obviously sabotage has been a big gameplay mechanic in the Evolution games anyway. So we were sabotaged, and we then got escorted into essentially a storage cupboard, which had been converted into a red lit emergency bunker where we had to wait as a dinosaur was outside. They had like the sound effects of the dinosaur, and then eventually the capture team came, the dinosaur disappeared, and we were let out of this bunker, and that was the end of the session. So they did a really good job of actually keeping the confines of the play session within an immersive experience, as opposed to just being like, hey, you're done, that's it. And then at the end, we actually got to come out and meet a raptor puppet. And what I learned from Jay Malone was it was Raphael, the puppeteer, who's usually at Orlando, and they had actually flown him out with Tango for the event. So I got to meet Raph at the event as well, which was cool. So he was there at the end. We got like our photo ops. as you can see in Connor's lovely photo. And then we obviously went on our way. So that is kind of the experience. And I guess before I jump into the actual gameplay itself, is there anything you want to jump into on that?
No, I love hearing about it. I think these kinds of experiences are super super cool. Like
It was so cool.
Anytime you can get like to feel like you're part of that world, and
Yeah,
Universal has been pretty good about stuff like that with their tribute stores and things. Like you can go in and like feel like you're in the control room of some sort, or you're in like
yeah.
the broken down Lost World facility or something. And so it's really cool when they get to do stuff like this. So this looks like it was a pretty excellent one, and I'm glad they like went all out to like have
Dude, they
like
really did.
like characters, and like flew people out
Yeah.
from Orlando, and like had like the interruption in the
There were
gameplay thing like
literally
that. That's really
banners
cool.
on all the walkways and things going up to it as well, so it was clearly signposted where you were going. And it's just clear that so much effort went into it. Like they, I don't know if I don't think I put any photos in the article, but along Barbican anyway, and along kind of all of that space, in the city of London, it is quite an events heavy space. So there's lots of different events venues and things that take place there. And
Okay.
as you kind of get into the walkways, there's sort of like the banners that you'll sometimes drape event advertisement from. And as Connor and I were walking along, we just looked up and we could see like Jurassic World Evolution 3, and we knew where we were going. So it was really cool. The one thing I would say as well is, obviously I mentioned Connor. The team at Yours Truly were really awesome. I popped them an email and asked if there was a chance that Connor would be able to go as well, because obviously he's a creator. He captured a lot of the footage that's on the YouTube channel in the full video, and they were great about getting him in. And what was really nice was the two of us got to meet up with Best in Slot, Swerve, and Dangerville, and go to the pub afterwards, which was really nice, because
Nice.
that's kind of the thing that I enjoy with these more so than anything, is that kind of interaction that comes with other creators. And I will say, shout out to Frontera as well, because this week they actually organised a visit to Cambridge, which unfortunately I couldn't go on because I'd already been booked to do photography for a client. But they have really pulled out all the stops in terms of putting a lot of events together for creators and actually being really communicable. And that, I think, is a really big thing that they deserve credit for, is throughout this whole cycle leading up to Jurassic World Evolution 3, I think it's the most communication we've ever had from Frontier. And I mean, you
Hmm.
said you've seen that as well. You get the same emails I've been getting. They've been constantly sending out new content about it, which has been really nice, because I think for me initially, and we've spoken about it, I wasn't that excited when it was revealed, because I did feel like visually it looks a lot like Jurassic World Evolution 2. And I still think that to some extent. I think in my cinematic especially, you can see that it looks a lot like the southern USA map from Jurassic World Evolution 2. But
Hmm.
I think the verticality, the modularity, everything like that I've got to play with has really kind of made me really excited for this game. Like, I'm actually excited to spend some time sinking my teeth into it now, which is really cool. Oh, I cannot hear you.
For some reason, my mic was muted on the system, and I don't know why. But visually, I totally get what you're saying. It looks very similar, but I think like those elements inside the game are like it looks like it's drastically different in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
But before that, I do want to like just shout out Frontier as well, because yeah, they have been like very inclusive and like including so many people in this, which is really cool. And I think it feels like it's a bigger experience than the past two games in many ways.
yeah, definitely.
So which is surprising, because here we are at game 3, so many
Yeah,
like DLCs and updates and things, and it's surprising, and especially that it doesn't feel, at least from my perspective, it doesn't feel like it's attached to anything really. Like it doesn't feel like it's
mm,
attached to, because typically they've been attached to the film that comes out.
yeah.
I don't know that I'm getting that sense from this.
Well,
Maybe you
no,
can tell
no,
me, but
that's the most interesting thing is everything I've seen. There is so far nothing from Rebirth in this game. And
yeah.
I am sure that that might come further down the line. But I think it's nice in a way that actually we've got to the point where this can stand on its own two legs. And obviously, I mean, we saw earlier this week the License Expo article that made it seem like Universal are going to try and carry the momentum of Rebirth forward for at least a little bit longer. But it certainly seems like this is very much its own thing, and indeed, all of the advertising at the event was entirely focused on Evolution 3. There was no creep in from Rebirth at all. Although what was quite funny was one of the actors that they had playing a scientist at this event also played a scientist for the Rebirth event at Barbican. So
That's funny.
I'm so gutted I didn't get the chance to go up to him and just say, "How did you get off of Al Saint Hubert?" Like, I feel like that would have been hilarious.
That would have been pretty good, and it would have been only something you would have appreciated. Like nobody else would have
Yeah.
cared. But like that's too funny. But yeah, I think they've done a pretty excellent job, and I think it'll be interesting to see like what the hype level is for this game due to it not necessarily being
Yeah.
tied in. I don't know how much that will care, like people will care about that, but yeah, again, I've said this so many times, but it feels like we're in this weird place, especially with the next topic coming up in a little bit, like where the franchise is like split between two different things, and this is still
Yeah.
feeling like it's part of the whole Jurassic World to Dominion era
Yes.
in a lot of ways, and like so is Chaos Theory. So it's we're kind of like split at the moment where like what we're doing, and I did
Yeah.
I shared it in a chat that we're a part of. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look, but there was like a licensing what was it? Yeah, it
Yeah.
was an article that like came out the other day about like the brand and like the tying everything in, and it was very much talking about like tying into the nostalgia of the past, but like doing it in a new way. And I was like, yeah, I get that, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it's doing that. It feels like it's very split, and like
Yeah.
we're like not really sure. But I expanded upon that for like a while in a recent live stream, so everybody can go watch
Mm.
that if they want to. But I think it was from October 1st. But yeah, it's interesting. Did it feel like, how does it feel like going to an event where you're like, but we're past this. Like, where are we?
Yeah, it was very bittersweet. So, spoilers for anyone who doesn't want the campaign spoil. I'm allowed to talk about this because there's no embargo on anything from the day. The campaign starts with a cutscene from Ian Malcolm, and it's basically the usual kind of Malcolm monologue over some footage, but it kind of ends with a message at something along the lines of maybe this time life finds a way. And I was just sat there
Yeah.
like, well, it doesn't because they all die. Which was
Oh
a
my
little bit
god,
bittersweet. Yeah, yeah. I
dude,
was like,
that's
this
like,
just it fit. What I mean, this is something we'll come on to later when we talk about Rebirth as well. But I feel like there is, and it's going to be a free thread because I want to touch on it in when we talk about Chaos Theory as well. Is it feels like there is a narrative disconnect between whatever the figureheads at Universal wanted the direction of the franchise to be and whatever then the brand partners have been working with, because it feels like a lot of the brand partners are rightly, like you say, still in that period of time where there's dinosaurs everywhere. And I think, to be fair to the brand partners, you're right to stay in that time because there's so much potential for storytelling in that period of time. So I think this is maybe a case of Universal trying to have their cake and eat it too and moving things forward far too quickly. But we will come on to that. I think what it does lend itself nicely to me talking about though is the game as a whole and how I think the game fits in now as a piece of Jurassic media. And I think the thing I'm most excited about is actually having played it, just the terrain tools alone. um, and full disclosure, I didn't experiment with them much because I knew I wanted to make a cinematic from this gaming session. That's kind of the thing I've always done in the past, so I thought it made sense for me to do it here. So I didn't play with them that much, but even just looking around the pre-built map that they let us load in sandbox mode, all of the rocks are clusters that are put together and saved and then used to build the walls of the canyons and things like that. So whereas in the past you would build your structures around the physicality that's already there, this time around you have so much control over what you're building, and I think that alone is going to add so much replayability. Then the modularity of the buildings, I mean, you see it in a cinematic that's on our channel again at the start of that video. There's so many different visual designs for the different buildings that I feel like you're just going to be able to play with it endlessly, and really kind of get so much more out of this experience than either of the previous Evolution games. Now, obviously, there are the more visual additions like the balloon tour. I looked at the boat tour a little bit, and that looks really cool. And also the petting zoo sort of area, which you can see in that clip just there, which is a cool new addition. But I really actually think it is that modularity, that ability to make different buildings and environments that is going to come in so handy going forward. So I think although narratively this doesn't necessarily represent where the franchise is currently, I think this is going to be fantastic from a longevity perspective because it gives people so many more tools. So actually, if you don't want to be in the rebirth era with the parks that you're building, you have got everything here now to do whatever you want to do going forward in perpetuity, which is quite cool. And I would say there's still a few like odd restrictions and things on like dinosaur skins, colors, that kind of stuff. But I'm interested to see how they build it out over time, because I think there's much more of a baseline of sandbox features here than there has been over time. And obviously, we know from the previous two games that Frontier have got a really good track record for post-game support. So I'm really interested to see what that looks like for this game and what we get over time with it. Like, I was talking to Swerve the other night, and I was saying I'd love if we saw like roller coasters in the future and that kind of
Oh my
stuff.
God,
And I think
please.
there's the base core foundations in this game to be able to add stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see if they do it.
That's really all I want is like the ability to make this a theme park. And I think
Yeah,
they've really, as far as I can tell, like with everything that they've sent us and that initial stream that we had to be, where we were a part of, um, getting to like really have cool terrain assets and stuff like that. I think that really changes the look and vibe of the game. I think
yeah,
like having buildings that are going to be unique and like everything is super unique to me, so that's where I kind of like fell off a little bit in the original two, was like it just felt so
yeah.
sterile, like kind of like you were talking about that Barbican, is that what the name of that facility was? How
Yes.
it's just very
Yeah.
like concrete, whatever. That's kind of just the vibe I got from the original two games. Is just like here's a plot of thing, here's a plot of land, here's a building, so I like that you can like really change things up and make it look beautiful. And I know they've been really good about getting updates in there, but the problem was in especially like Jurassic World Evolution 2, I fell off fairly quickly with that game. So I didn't really get to
Mm.
experience all the great changes that they brought to that game. Um, but I'm excited to see what they've done here, and like you said, it's a good baseline. So I hope we get more elements like that that can really beautify beautify, is that a word, this park,
We'll
like
take
just
it.
make it, we'll take it, it works, just make it look beautiful. And I'm very excited by that prospect there, and I think it looks really good, and it looks like you guys had a good time. And
Yeah.
you've gotten me hyped, like for sure. I think you've
There we go.
done the job for sure.
The one thing I would say to anyone listening to this, if you want any specific Evolution 3 content once the game's out, please let us know. Because I've been on the fence about whether I'm going to do a campaign playthrough or not. And the thing I always think with that is there's people who are going to do that anyway. You've got Swerve, you've got Gaming Beaver, Vestinslaw, Evolution Square. So I don't know that I'm necessarily adding value by doing that, but if people want stuff like that, then we can definitely look at getting more content out around the game as well.
Yeah, I was, I'm thinking about it. The 21st, right? Is that when it comes out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to like start doing some streaming because I did some like initially when the second one came out, I think. Maybe I did some for the first, I forget, but then everybody like kind of refers back the people who are like watching live streams and stuff. They're like referring back to how frustrated I was with like with with like just being a complete drain on the bank like in that game. Like everything was I was losing money like left and right, and I was like pulling my hair out trying to get that game to operate. But so it was a fun experience for everybody else, but for myself I was frustrated. So I'm hoping to have a good experience this time around to be able to have some fun
Yeah.
playing this game. And yeah, and I I'm not
Well, look on screen, Brad. You've got cute baby dinosaurs who can help to
that's
ease any suffering.
Dude, that's like a big hype for me because like I saw baby Spino, baby Dimetrodons. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, this is so sick. They look so good.
I can't wait to
And
hatch myself a beta and then make her die out because she's in North America.
look, man, they lied. Everything they said in Rebirth was a lie. It was all a lie. I'm just in a beach, just throwing sand.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, but anything else that you need to relay in regards to this game? I think you really covered. It feels like a lot of
Yeah.
it, the experience and the gameplay and everything.
I feel like
I
we've
feel
done all
like
right
oh
considering this was the bit I had no notes for.
yeah, we just both said I feel like at the exact same time, and it was like booming in my
Yeah.
headset. But like I feel like it's generally like it looks like the same kind of game, the same kind of experience with some
Yeah.
added like touches that will make people happy. So we all kind of get it, right? We get what the game's about. We get what's going on here. We all just kind of want to get our hands on it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair enough. It is. You're right that it is. If you've played Evolution 2 especially, this is going to feel very similar. And like the campaign, you have to manage scientists, you have to assign certain people to certain tasks and all of that kind of stuff. So don't expect it to be radically different. But I think where this game is really going to shine is A, juveniles, because everybody's wanted that. But B, like we've spoken about, the sandbox tools are just going to be infinitely more available than they were before.
Fantastic, dude. Well, I appreciate all of
Cool.
your hard work and getting down there and checking that out. You and Connor both like killed it with this coverage, and I know I was saying it on the live stream, but like the way that you just like your mindset was to go out there and do cinematics. Like that was just
Yeah.
what you that's like you didn't go there to like enjoy yourself necessarily. You went there to do things and like cover stuff and like and of course you enjoyed yourself. I'm not trying to say you didn't, but your mindset was like what kind of content can I make? Like how can I and I appreciate that. I think
Dude,
that's
I
tough.
literally
That's what a lot of people don't realize.
I was like, what can I do that nobody else is going to do? Nobody else is going to do a cinematic. And the thing that annoyed me the most was so bear in mind that was my first time on console, and I was like, the camera movement, pretty steady. I'm happy with that. But you can see the bloody cursor on every shot. And after I'd filmed it all, Swerve was sat next to me and he was like, oh, if you press like the middle button on the mouse the cursor disappears. And I was just like, why didn't you tell me that before I did the
Oh
whole
no.
cinematic?
Yeah, it's all right, man. I was honestly like, it wasn't until like halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way through the cinematic that I was like, oh look, there's the mouse.
Yeah.
It's
just
funny.
part of the immersive experience.
It really is. It really is. So what do you say? Should we move on to Chaos Theory Season 4?
Let's do it. Sounds chaotic.
All right, so season 4, we talked.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit since we've talked about season 3. I really do need to refresh my memory on a lot of the elements and stuff. It feels like it was ages ago, though. I mean, I know it was only March and April that we put out all of our
It's
content.
almost as if a film came out between then or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it is almost like there was other things to cover, I guess. And yeah, all of Tales released in that time frame, and the movie, and all
Dude,
this
that's
game
so
content.
crazy.
So
Yeah.
it's been it doesn't feel like there's been a lot to discuss. And I say this on my live streams. I'm
Mm.
like, I scour the internet. I feel like I got to find something sometimes to like talk about. But like looking back on like the episodes that we put out, and seeing that we talked
Yeah.
about this stuff back in March and April, it was like, whoa, that was like actually doesn't feel like it was that long ago actually. But we've done so much in that time frame.
Yeah.
But yeah, we
It
talked about
says a
that.
lot that I genuinely had forgotten about Tales until you mentioned it. Like, I feel like we released that final season, and then I just wiped it from my brain, and I was like, okay, that's one less thing to worry about.
Moving on. Yeah. We talked with Scott. You talked with some cast members and stuff. So we did a
Yes, that
lot
was
for
very
season
cool.
3, and I think it ended in a pretty fun place where we get to see the Cam fam
Yeah.
like going down into Biosyn Valley and meeting up.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see what happens, and I think this teaser here does give us some good insight. Let me put this back on. I'll try to make it quiet, but.
Those kids have been through a lot.
This is good start. Nostalgia.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being abandoned.
I
in a
did think it was
dinosaur-infested
cheeky that
island.
pretty much half of the teaser is Camp Cretaceous.
Yeah, of course. I mean, a lot of times teasers are like that. They focus on something
Yeah.
else before getting to the big deal, and this felt very like stereotypical in that way. But I like that there was like the audio over top of it that was like, man, these
Yeah.
kids have been through a lot, and it's like, yeah, the person whoever's responding, is the woman that's speaking there? Is that the other agent that like Darius has dealt with? I heard somebody say that before, but I didn't double check.
Possibly, yeah. I tell you who I'd love for it to be.
Who?
Roxy. Like, that would be such a nice way of bringing it full circle.
Did she have an accent like you? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the island.
No, I don't think
Yeah,
that's
her
Roxy,
accent's
'cause
not like that.
Yeah, she talking like me, dude. She's like,
There's not enough enunciation and actual pronunciation of words there.
Well, look, man, not everybody can be an AI voiceover like yourself. So
All I have to say on that is still no reply.
oh my gosh. Yeah, that's fun. But I appreciate the
For
fact
context, for context, dear viewers, somebody commented on one of my Evolution 3 videos critiquing the use of a really bad AI voiceover, and then I had to reply with, no, that's just my voice.
dude, I was like, what voice, what video? And then I like watch a video. I'm like, it's hard for me to imagine that as an AI voiceover, but like, I mean, there's usually tells and stuff that you can like hear. Oh, that's straight up AI. But like, I know your voice and I've heard it so many times and I listen to it all the time that like, it didn't feel that way. But maybe for some people, they're like, dude, this AI, man, that's hilarious. I was cracking up about that. So, wow. People are wild on the internet, man. The things they say.
Yeah. I was just tired, okay? It was a long day of content capture.
Look, I appreciated your straight up just like rebuttal of that. And you're just like, no, dude, that's me. So yeah, but hey, for years now, I've been working with an AI assistant. His name is Tom Jurassic.
Yeah.
So he's real. This video that's underneath me is not a real person at all. He's a new actor that's going to be a part of the next Jurassic movie.
Before the AI train was uncool.
Yeah. But back to the trailer. We hear this voiceover that's not AI. It's actual person, I think. And I love that this person is like referring to the events of this season and like, but the other person's like, yeah, man, they had such a hard time back on the island, and the person's like,
can
no.
I just hit you with something quickly? Can I just? I have this feeling, and Scott, look at me.
Hold on.
If you do this,
yeah.
If you do this, same wavelength. I really feel like this voiceover could be in the courtroom from the end of Dominion. I can really see that being where the kids end up. There's something in my gut that is like, yeah, that's where this show is ending.
That would be interesting for sure. Yeah, I would love it if they got to that point. I really hope they do get to that point.
As long as there's a sentence that's like, "Thank you, Agent Morrison," and now we will hear from.
Just like a real quick passing comment and then moving on. Dude, that would be so funny. I really feel like they do need to end up at like the end of the movie, right? And they have to, like, it has to be a comment that's post whatever happens in this season, right? Yeah. So I feel like there'll be like an epilogue on the end or something that's just like, somebody watching a news update, or maybe they're in that courtroom just like speaking about it real quickly. Like there has to be something that like wraps up this. And I don't know that it will it include the kids, or will it just show, will it have this voiceover showing the kids like maybe doing what,
hear me out,
like wrapping up their storylines?
Hear me out, okay?
You know
how in the past we've had voice actors who don't sound like the actual characters, Barry being an example. Yeah. What if this voiceover is actually Ellie Sattler?
That would be awesome. That would be fantastic. I would love it, man. Please. Like, dude, a world where like we get to see any of these returning characters, because outside of Dr. Wu, who we also seemingly hear in this trailer, we don't really we don't have anybody else really that's ever returned, right? There's no other characters, so
it's almost as if the other characters are the expensive actors or something. Like I don't know what's going on there.
They might be, but look, you don't need to have the actor themselves. I mean, they've been very good about it, which does make me question if that is BD Wong in the voiceover or not, like later on in the trailer, because they did get Deachin Lockman to do her voice for her character. She was a returning character, so I forgot about that for a second. But so they've been kind of leaning into that for this series instead of what they did maybe with Dr. Wu in the first one. Maybe they just got a voiceover for that, a voice actor for that, but maybe they actually get him for this. Maybe, I don't know, but probably not. But I think it would be so good to have, like, you've got everybody, every possibility is on the table, right? If they were to do characters, you have everybody that could potentially be there. So who knows? But let's continue the trailer, I guess. Let's go back to it and see what we can find out.
What happened after?
One final adventure.
Some mysteries should stay locked up.
That like sounds just like him.
I think it is. I think it is Wu. I have a list, a bullet point list, if we would like to work our way through it.
Let's go, dude. Yeah, what do you got?
So, I mean, firstly, I'm excited that we're going back to Biosin Valley. I definitely feel like there were ways to tie that location into where we are currently in the franchise. So I think it's nice that we're going back there in Chaos Fury at least. And I think it looks really good. So I'm really excited to see more of that. I'm excited to see the Dilophosaurus is back in that short shot with Kenji. I can't wait for Kenji to reach up and wrap his fingers around its throat and suffocate it. I think that's going to be a really good thing.
Hold on, I want to compare these. You mentioned Biosin Valley, so I brought the pictures up here. So this is from Dominion, and they look like just as good. I know
it's pretty spot on. Yeah,
the fidelity is always like kind of not great when it comes to the trailers for this show. It's never really like crystal clear for some reason, but I do think
but
like
even here they've captured like
so
the little
good.
They've got the observation towers and things. If you go back to the Chaos Fury one, Brad, in the top left-hand corner, there's one of the little observation towers. So they've even put that in, which looks really good.
I mean, this looks like one for one in a lot of ways. It looks like
Yeah.
it's this shot looks like it is straight out of like Dominion, basically. Like
Yeah.
it's almost hard to tell that this is an animated series from this photo.
Yeah.
Like,
The-
it looks
yeah.
so good.
Literally, the only thing that looks different to me is there's maybe slightly more trees in the courtyard than there actually are in the film. But apart from that, everything
maybe,
else.
yeah.
I mean, to be fair, that
Yeah.
do you know what's really funny though? The film shows more trees there in that shot, but they're definitely not there in the final battle.
Well, yeah, it looks like there's a whole like grassy knoll over here, but then like on
Yeah.
the right hand side, maybe that's where all the other structures and things are. But it's very confusing.
Yeah.
And like, to be honest, I never really understood like why in the world are they calling the dinosaurs to go there?
Yeah.
That's a small spot. I don't understand it. There's just mountains here. How in the world did they get in there? I don't
Yeah.
know. But also, like, there's got to be a better place for dinosaurs to go. But
You
we're
would
not here
think
to
so, wouldn't you?
we're not here to critique Dominion too much. But look, yeah, there's one of the
I,
towers there. This is from Dominion.
Yeah.
So they got that stuff completely right. And there you see them.
And it looks spot on. It looks great to the shape of it and everything. One thing I do really like as well is in one of the frames we can see one of the vehicles. Good luck finding the specific frame. I always love giving you a challenge.
It's over here.
There we go. And what I like with this is it does look like specifically one of the Biosyn Jeep Gladiators. So in Chaos Theory and Camp Cretaceous, they often reuse models, but it looks like here, yeah, like you can see it there. It's a proper Biosyn Jeep, so they've put some work into actually capturing the aesthetic of the Biosyn vehicles, which again I love because I remember being so hyped when we saw the Biosyn Jeep Gladiator and thinking this has got loads of practical tools on it. It could be a cool vehicle to appear several times, and then it gets one sequence when it's pushed down the hill and that's it. So I'm excited to see more of that. I'm excited that we've got the Quetzalcoatlus, the Therizinosaurus, and also the Giganotosaurus returning. That shot of the Quetz is just phenomenal. Like
It's so
it
good.
just so ambient, and the fact that we're getting are they archosaurs? I think that's the type of animal that Quetz is. The fact that we're getting them as a threat, again, that's something that people have asked for ages. With Tails, the reason why I wrote the airport episode is because people had wanted to see it as a threat as opposed to just kind of a big bird. Now, obviously, we got more of that in Rebirth, but again, it's cool seeing the Quetz in this facility and actually thinking maybe is this where the Quetz goes after it takes down Kayla's plane? Like, does it then go and attack the facility? And that's why we don't see it again. So that's quite cool. I think the thing that I am most excited about, though, is the Atrociraptor training. And actually getting this sense that there's been other stuff going on at Biosyn. Because we know Biosyn have been a variable within the franchise since the first film. So I like the idea that they're not just rounding up the dinosaurs. They have been working on other stuff. That's exactly the kind of stuff that we'd see Dodgson do. And it also creates a nice connective tissue back with the black market. So not only do they own the Amberclave market, but they're also funneling some of their assets through it. I think that's really cool. And I love how that lab sequence, especially, the like bit with the balcony and the glass at the angle, it makes me think of the playset we got from Mattel for Dominion with like that bit that's got the little observation bit above it and then the fence below that breaks away.
Oh yeah.
So that's just really cool.
I like this I guess it's an Atrociraptor back there, but like the other two don't necessarily look like Atrociraptors. But it looks just like this Mattel one, which I love.
Oh wow, yeah.
Shot. It does look like this one. Like it's got that same kind of color scheme on it. The one that's in the back, it's got this ice, blue kind of like Arctic Velociraptor. Excuse me, I'm like losing my voice in the middle of talking. But I just like that it kind of looks like that. We're getting new designs on these Atrociraptors or Raptors or whatever, but they're kind of also mimicking the Raptor squad in a lot of ways. I feel like this Atrociraptor here looks like it's got blue elements to it. Like it looks like it's got that same like outline like blue does around the striping, which is, uniquely blue. So this could be the more intelligent one or something like there. But I'm trying to combine what we know about like the facility and like also Dr. Wu being there and them bringing in Beta and also Maisie. They were seemingly just he was doing that to like what I always thought was to cure the I don't even know. I'm still kind of confused about that part of the thread. I forget.
That's all to do with parthenogenesis and the fact that when they bred themselves, so when Blue was able to breed without a mate, that process meant that the biological issue within Beta, but Beta was like a purely bred from somebody else thing, and then Maisie was obviously bred from Charlotte, but Charlotte had a genetic condition that she didn't pass on to Maisie through parthenogenesis. So the combination of the two was what he then needed to do what he did to the locusts.
But
it sounds about as contrived as my explanation.
Well, no, that's a good summary because that's the vibe I'm getting. But also, why would Dodgson allow that? Stop.
Yeah,
Alexa, I don't want you to be talking right now. Get out of here.
Dodgson's sabotaging us.
Sorry, I probably set off everybody else's too at the same time. But but because Dodgson was like in on that conversation about getting the girl and all this stuff, and like, so why would he have wanted what Dr. Wu was seeking?
That's all part of Hexapod allies. Yeah, so at that point, the locusts have already become a problem. So he knows that what Wu's working on is going to stop the locusts, and the locusts are the thing that will stop Biosyn from being able to take advantage of the dinosaurs. So basically... it's alright, I'll keep talking.
Why should you keep talking?
Okay, I won't keep talking. I'll stop talking.
No, not you.
Basically, Dodgson wants to cover up what has gone wrong with the locust, so that's why he wants that.
Okay, all right. You're checking it out for me. I get it now.
Cool, good. You've prompted a very interesting thought in my brain though, which is: do these or do these not look an awful lot like the Hasbro concepts for the Raptor Squad, where they were the militarized raptors, and you had like the desert raptor, the tundra raptor, and I think there was another one. I wonder if this is going to be an evolution on that thread, where they'll be like, oh, we've bred one to be used in the desert, one to be used in the tundra.
Yeah, that could be. That would be awesome. Was this the Dino Escape one? Which one is this? I'm trying to figure out what pack. I don't know, but
You're
could
thinking
definitely see
of the
that
one
happening.
that came with the Jeep, right? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
No, it doesn't have a Jeep. It just has just 4 Raptors. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's a cool idea for sure. And I'm trying to cope with that idea of bringing those two characters, Beta and Maisie, there, and also, but also having like another set of Raptors that are seemingly supposed to be as like important as Blue. In my mind, I would assume.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But they're testing their skill. They're what kind of evolution of the training is this going to be? Because we've seen the Raptors focus on a clicker with like a dead rat.
Yeah.
We've seen a whistle. We've seen lasers. We've seen sound. Whatever the sound thing was that was used on the Indoraptor. So there's been a lot, and plus you add in the fact that like they've got these chips in these dinosaurs that are like controlling them to a certain extent. So I wonder, what is there going to be another step in that evolution? Is there going to be something else? I don't know.
Yeah. So I keep skirting the Rebirth conversation, but I'm just gonna say, right, if there was a Feige of the Jurassic universe keeping everything tied together, then the Distortus could have been Biosyn's attempt to reverse engineer the Indominus, and these could have been their attempt to reverse engineer what was being done through the Ibris program. that would have been a cool way to connect it all. So you just see like where Biosyn has been trying to reverse engineer what InGen's done, and then in Dominion they finally think they've got the chance to get ahead.
Look, I love where your head's at, man, but they didn't do that.
But we have to accept what we've got. Yeah, we have to accept what we've got, Brad. I will say something on this though, on the connectivity. Something I am a little bit nervous about from this trailer is seeing the final shots of Dominion, just because I feel like what really worked before with Camp Cretaceous was that they did the crossover once. So they did it once. It was a very significant moment because it's literally the midpoint of the season, the end of season 3, and the midpoint of the whole show. And I felt that was very impactful. Whereas with Chaos Theory, part of me worries that we're leaning towards being too connected. Like, we had the Allosaurus from Battle at Big Rock, and I think that worked really well. We've then had the Pyroraptor, and I think that works well. But I think because we ran so parallel with the events of Malta in Jurassic World Chaos Theory Season 3, I don't know why I felt the need to say the whole name there. I'm a little bit worried that this is then going to run too parallel to the events of Dominion's third act, and it's just going to become a little bit hard to suspend disbelief. Like, I think having crossover is good, but I feel like you need to manage it in a way where it doesn't constantly feel like crossover, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, if we're trying to do like a timeline of events for where all the characters are in the valley, during the movie, and then you also do a timeline of events, and you're like, wait, there's too much overlap. I know, but nobody's seeing, especially if there's no crossover with characters and stuff. Then you're like, well, how is any of this possible? So they do have to be very, very careful about that. And typically these seasons are like a few days, right? Maybe there's more, like, it depends on time jumps or whatever. But like, this has to be one night, like one day to night, and then the next day, I guess. So like, they really don't have much time to occupy that space. But if they do, if they do extend a little bit, if they want to show maybe an episode of the after, whatever happens, that would be great. I don't think they will, but yeah, they have to be careful of all of that overlap. But this is my favorite scenario. Like, this is what I want from this show. I want that overlap. I want to question things, and I have faith in Scott and everybody behind this show, right? I have so much faith because I look to them to fix the wrongs that are in the films, right?
Yeah.
If there are any wrongs that I feel like are in the films, they have done such a good job of like bridging those gaps and creating really cool interconnected storytelling. I think it's been pretty great. So I hope, and this is exactly what I want. But
like, if you're saying you look to them to correct the wrongs with the films, then I think there's lots of scope for a third animated series.
Well, yeah, I did want to talk about that with you. I mean, we can jump into it now, but like because this, to me, with what happens at the beginning of this trailer, with like, man, these kids have been through so much, like, it all feels like, and especially the flashbacks of the past, like all that stuff summarizing what has happened for these kids along this journey. And then also tying that into, let me see if I can bring this up here, but like the, over on Instagram, I know they probably posted it elsewhere as well, but DreamWorks TV posted a thread here that, you can submit your thoughts, like 3 to 4 sentences. Bear with me, it's just not loading. But they put a post up that says, like, please submit your 3 to 4 written sentences and take a picture of it and upload it. And I think that, like, that feels like a signal point that, like, hey, this is the end. Like, this is it. This is the end.
It feels finite, doesn't it?
It feels like the end of these characters, this story. I'm sad because it also, like, is the wrap up of everything, right? Everything, if we don't think about Rebirth, because that really does feel adjacent to everything that we've gotten before. It doesn't feel like it's part of the same
Yeah.
story necessarily. This is the end of like the saga in a lot of ways. So there maybe there's something coming down from Universal that says like it's time to move on. It's time to do something else.
Yeah, possibly.
Or not do anything at all. Like,
interesting.
so I'm a little worried about that, and I feel like this is definitely the end of the Camp Fam. What do
Yeah.
you think?
And I think you make some really interesting points, because actually I've got a few more bullet points that I wanted to work through, but all of them really tie into that, which is the idea that Wu is returning, but the line he has is some mystery should stay locked up. And the thing I immediately think is, well, cool, we're probably going to get a little bit more of Biosyn, but are those plot threads going to lead anywhere? Ultimately not, because JWR has made such a massive narrative shift compared to what's come beforehand. And that, I mean, to go back to what I was saying with JWE3, it does really feel like, to me, like these two projects have been running along sort of parallel to the film, but there's been no communication, and now suddenly these two projects are sat at a point where the narrative point that they're at isn't really conducive to where the franchise is now, which I think is a huge shame. I think the thing I'm interested with is, I guess if this is the last season, are we really going to see, because they've teased a little bit about their, like, potentially not everybody getting out in one piece, right? And I'm like, well, are they going to kill any of the Camp Fam off? I don't know if I necessarily see them doing it in one season, because I think they would have had to build up to a death a little bit more. So I don't really know. It does very much feel to kind of what you were saying, almost as if there was the potential for this to go somewhere else, and then it's sort of been stopped in its tracks by what the direction with the films has been. And I know Scott's talked about this before, I think, about the fact that they weren't able to write past Dominion anyway, so they've always known that was the stopping point. But I do think it's a shame to think about, well, actually, what could a future story with these characters have been if there was maybe more scope there? I mean, the point with all of that is there is still 5 years before the events of Rebirth, so they could do something within that period of time. But it does seem like Universal's very reluctant to fill that. It feels like Rebirth was deliberately a clear narrative break, for better or worse.
I didn't say anything just there. I just
I think you like coughed.
There was a cough or something. I don't know what that was. But yeah, I did get this to load, but the wording there, it's like, you've been with us through it all, from Isla Nublar to Italy and almost everywhere in between. This show has meant so much to so many people, and now it's time to share your story. So that, to me, like, they're signaling like the end, and whether that's deaths or what, I don't know. My bet, I've just been like betting on like Kenji if I was to put money down. But I don't know. I really don't know where they're going to end up going.
He's gonna Owen Grady that Dilophosaurus. Kenji is fine, Brad.
It's just in any scenario, it's kind of hard to imagine one of these characters dying off. Truly, like, I know we had the whole fake out with Brooklyn and everything, but I don't really feel like it's in the DNA of the show to do that. But maybe it is. I don't know.
But that's where I guess it could be shocking, right? Because I think I've spoken to you about this before, with spoilers, because enough time has passed, making the decision to kill Lucy in Tales. I think sometimes deaths are best served in fiction when you don't see them coming. So it would be a really good way for the team behind this to reinforce the danger of these animals in a way that, and this could potentially be a critique of something else right now, in a way that doesn't feel slapstick and rushed too quickly.
Interesting. I don't know, man. I think it's going to be sad no matter what happens. I just hope that there's more story to tell. I I do think there's plenty of story to tell. Like you said, there's 5 years,
I think so.
and they could pull off a retcon in a way that, like, you know, they go talk to Maisie and they find out that there is a sanctuary island, and then they work with the DFW or something to get you know, any dinosaurs that are dying off to go to the sanctuary island, like stuff like that. Like, there's so many stories.
So
that
Brad,
they could...
what you just described this thing for Jurassic World Evolution 1 that was called Claire's Sanctuary.
Yeah, exactly. I know, but like, it's obvious, like, it's right there in front of them that they could do that, and there's so many other stories they could tell. They could just tell the sad story of dinosaurs dying off if they wanted to, and like that, but that would be such a bummer. But like, there's stories to tell, because that's exactly what this crew is meant to be doing, right? Is getting dinosaurs to safety at this point. That feels like their sole goal. So that story is there to tell if they wanted to continue with these characters. But who knows if they will or not. I don't know. I hope they do.
I've got a pitch right here. Okay, if we come out of this series and Brooklyn is still alive, I want a mockumentary series of her doing the journalism she wanted to do, but it's her documenting the fall of the dinosaurs in the Neo-Jurassic Age. So you have like you're like almost Walking with Dinosaurs style documentary, but it's her and a camera team documenting a different dinosaur each episode in the human environment, and ultimately showing how they ended up either going extinct or getting moved into a sanctuary or something else. There you go, Scott. My DMs are open. Yeah, there's a slight time difference, but
there you go. I love it. So you brought up an interesting point, though, I wanted to talk about as well, is Dr. Wu talks about what was the wording? Some secrets are best kept locked away or something like that.
Up.
Yeah. That is very interesting, because in my mind, I'm like, are we introducing a brand new threat, a brand new mystery? Is it too late in the game to do something like that? Does it have to reference realized? The Atrociraptors? Like, what did you realize?
I don't even think it's that. I think that might be him telling the kids about the locusts. I thought it was something new, but I actually think it could just be the locusts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was that either. So there's a lot of things it could be, but I hope it's not some big mystery, like a new dino something or other. I really hope that's not the case. I hope it is in reference to, you know, the locusts or something, or just like the past or something. I don't know. What's so funny?
Can you imagine if this is the version of the story where Saint Hubert is still a Biosyn island, and they're like referencing the Distorters, not realizing that it is not a Biosyn creature anymore.
I mean, it could be in reference to that. Like, I guess, like, there is a chance that they do throw things in here, I guess, maybe in reference, but not in the way that you just said, like it's a lingering plot thread from like a previous script or something. But that would be crazy, dude, if that was the case. Like, no way. But possible. I don't know, but I think like there is the chance that they could sprinkle in some stuff like that. Like, if they come into the Biosyn lab and it's like studies that Dr. Wu has come across, and Brooklyn's like kind of sifting through some of them, and one of them is like Distortus, and she gets caught checking out documents by Dr. Wu. He walks into the room, and then literally you just hear over her shoulders, "Some secrets are best kept locked up," or whatever he says. Like, that would be pretty awesome.
Like this one.
Yeah. And I think like that would be a perfect little tie-in where it's like, we don't need to reference this really at all. We just need to say,
just acknowledge that it's
that's
there.
it. It's acknowledged and moved on, and then you continue. And she's like, okay, well, she puts the documents away, and I think that would be really a cool way to reference something like that and give it more to the story, and tie Dr. Wu into that whole mess. But
Yeah.
yeah. So
So
what
at
else do
this
we have?
point, I that was kind of everything I had on CT season 4, but I do want to make a very controversial statement that will
Mhm.
lead us into talking about Rebirth in a moment, which
Okay.
is my controversial statement is clearly with Evolution 3 and Chaos Theory. There were people who were excited about the prospect of dinosaurs out in the wild, so why did we choose somebody who didn't know how to continue that prospect to write the script for the new movie?
I have nothing to respond to that with. It's
It's almost
yeah.
as if it's a valid criticism.
It's yeah. It doesn't make any sense to me personally, because for years now we've been talking about all the various stories that you could tell out in the wild. Um and you've done some yourself, like, so the possibility is there. It's not like, oh, we had a hard time coming up with this, like, what to do. No, you shouldn't have. Like, there should never have been it should never have been a hard time. So it's very confusing on that level, but here we are. We're here. Do we want to move on
Yeah.
completely from Chaos Theory?
Yeah, I'm ready
All
to
right.
jump into Rebirth. I have a list of positives that we can chat through first.
That's what I was gonna say. It's flipping the script a little bit. We're gonna talk some positives about Jurassic World Rebirth. Okay, so
Yeah.
I've shared a lot of criticisms, and I feel like it tends to go down that route, and it probably will at some point. But like, I do hear from people all the time. Like, I actually really love this movie. I do feel like it's been a pretty good conversation, I think, in the community, where, I'll voice my criticisms on YouTube or like live streams or the podcasts, and like, I'll get Spotify comments or YouTube comments saying like, oh, well, I actually really liked it. Like, here, let me read this one here. This is from Nexus_2002 over on YouTube, and it says, I know this
Shout
isn't
out
the
to
most
Nexus.
popular. Yeah, I know this isn't the most popular opinion out there, but I actually quite liked Rebirth. Does it have issues? Absolutely. But for me, I really didn't vibe with the direction of Fallen Kingdom and Dominion took with the franchise, and this felt like a needed tone rest. The best set pieces since the original trilogy, in my opinion. Honestly, probably my number 3 behind JP and the Lost World. Wish more people were able to enjoy it as much as me. So that last sentiment right there, the wish more people were able to enjoy it as much as me, it's like how I have felt for the past 10 years. Like, because I have been in this camp of, man, I really wish people were able to enjoy
Dude, it's
Fallen
me with
Kingdom
Jurassic World.
Yeah,
Yeah.
since Jurassic World, all the way through Fallen Kingdom and Dominion, I've been like, dude, I love these movies. Like, and I still say I have like really no issue. I take no issue with Dominion or Fallen Kingdom for that matter. Like, but people are out there just saying this is the worst thing ever made in the history of cinema, and I'm just like, I wish really people could find enjoyment with it. So I appreciate that kind of comment, and I've seen a lot of comments like that are like, oh man, that stinks that you didn't like it. Like, but here's what I liked about it, or I'm sorry you didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
So I think it's been a pretty good conversation, where everybody's kind of bridging the gaps, and I haven't been on too many social platforms really, so I haven't found the negativity. But I know there, like when I'm scouring the web, it's like if you search Jurassic World Rebirth, and like look at Google News or whatever, there's literally like hilarious article titles that you're just like, what? Like, I even with like disliking some things, I never thought like whatever some of these comments are, and of course now it's getting bombarded with like, hey, it's heading to Peacock, so I can't really find the pieces there, but like it's quite silly. I'll try to keep looking, but Dino Dud, there's one. It's unoriginal
I
and
think
boring.
the thing
Better
with
off
anything like
extinct.
this is it's
Oh,
nuanced.
Mhm.
So I think everyone's opinion is going to be different. Like I naturally think for me the reason why, so full disclosure, I don't really like the film. and we'll work through that. You've probably taken that away from some of the things I've said on this recording already, but I do think part of that is because obviously we cover it. We, like, the two of us spoke about it a lot in the build up to the film, and so I feel like my hype was at a level that any film would probably have struggled to meet. So then that naturally, I think, has an impact on your viewing experience in a different way to it would for somebody who's maybe just casually like seen the trailer and that's it. So I do think there's nuance in everyone's opinions, and I also think different people want different things out of stories. Like for me, I've always, ever since the days of S.H.I.E.L.D. being introduced in the MCU and Coulson appearing in every film, interconnectivity has been something that I've really enjoyed in films. That's not necessarily something that other people care about, and I think it's really important to remember that. It's just because somebody doesn't have the same opinion as you on a film doesn't mean that your opinion's right and theirs is wrong, or their opinion's right and yours wrong. It just means you're coming at it from a different perspective.
Yeah, I think a lot of film criticism is just like, this film is garbage. And like that's like the extent of the criticism. And it's like, yeah, but no, it's like, for me, you said you don't really like the film. I actually am on the opposite side of the fence. I do really like the film. But like I find I struggle with the concepts that I struggle with. Like I find a lot of like resentment towards like the storytelling in certain aspects, and I'm like, man, you could have had something really great, but you just went the other way. But I do at the same time really like the film. Like I have a lot of good things and positives that we're going to talk about, I think, and I want to hear what yours are. So go ahead, like kick it off with something that you what do you really like about this movie?
Well, I'll start with some of the sequences then, which I think some of the sequences are the best set pieces we've had in Jurassic in a while. And when I was drafting this, I put the Mosasaurus and Spinosaur sequence because I think that whole arrival at Isle Saint Hubert and the kind of false reprieve that you get from them tagging the Mosasaur before then the Spinosaurs attack and they rush onto the island is quite cool. I think the Quetzalcoatl sequence is quite cool as well. I like how there's the element of verticality to that we've not seen anywhere before. I do think Loomis's fall is very goofy, but beyond that, I think the rest of that sequence is quite cool. And then also,
quick question on that. Like, what do you find goofy about the fall specifically? Is it just like tropey, like you hit some trees and
and I mean, I don't want to get into one of my problems straight away, but one of my problems is the fact that a lot of this, the writing for this story is very much storyteller's convenience, where, there happens to be enough leaves and a pool of water to break his fall, or, they happen to find the keys to the vehicle right next to it. Like, all of those kinds of things. There's a lot of obstacles put in front of the characters that conveniently have the solution there, as opposed to it being a journey for them to get to that solution.
Let me tell you a little information about a film called Jurassic Park. So there was a scene where Tim got pushed over a cliff and died. He died.
No way.
The movie. Do you remember that part?
Oh my God.
Oh, but no, wait, there was conveniently a tree right there to save him.
That there was, but also no, different situation.
Okay, yeah, well, definitely.
He's also in a vehicle, so the vehicle like catches in the tree. Whereas I feel like if you're just falling, bear in mind how high up he was. I'm not fully convinced that would break his fall. That I did kind of sit there and I was like, well, I'm not sure about that. But
I obviously get that for sure. But I will say at the same time, I had that Gareth Edwards like little itch in the back of my head that was like, are we in for a movie like that where like they kill off a wide assortment of characters? So when that moment happened, I actually felt, I was like, oh my God. Like I felt like tense for a second. I was like, whoa, is this happening for real? So it did get me in that way of like, wow, is this actually about to happen? And it didn't. Yeah. So, and I was like, I was relieved because like I like the guy and I like the character or whatever. So like, I was fine with it. And it is, but it does fall into that tropey thing of like, of course you got caught by some leaves. We've seen that happen in like Avatar and like other movies like that. So, but it's worked
just it's a thing that I think happens in films a lot where and it's like, as somebody who's writing a book at the moment, it's really easy to fall into this trap of you thinking, I need this thing to happen, so somehow, even if it isn't logical, it is going to happen for this character in this situation. And the other really glaring example of that is the raft not getting punctured when the Rex bites into it. Like, those are sharp teeth that would puncture that raft, and that raft is absolutely spotless when it appears like out through the water chute. So it's just stuff like that, like convenience in storytelling. I don't feel like it's ever been as blatant in Jurassic as it is in this film. But that aside, to bring us back onto the positives, I do think a lot of those set pieces are really good. Like, even that river raft sequence, some of the elements of that are really, really strong. I think beyond that, probably one of my favourite things, and this is a double-edged sword for me, so I've already alluded to it. I hate the fact that this is an in-gen island, and I'll come on to that later when we talk more about the critiques, but I do think the overall aesthetic of the island is really nice. And what I like is that it feels different to Jurassic Park in the sense that kind of something... it's got more of a almost... environmental kind of retrofit feel to the structures and things, where they feel like they're blended with nature a lot more, as opposed to the kind of just harsh concrete of Jurassic Park. But also I like that there's things like cranes in the backdrop in some shots and things that just make it feel like much more of a working location. I also think they did the geothermal plant very well in terms of having the piping all across the island. The only thing I don't like, and it kind of... I'm sorry, Brad, it's going to be a lot of this.
Well, I was thinking of my conversation with Aaron, where the one thing that I think he liked about the movie were the pipes that are across the island. Like, that was like the one thing that he liked. So I was like, I just think one thing as well is the pipes.
Yeah. No, but like the thing on the flip side of that is, I think the aesthetic of the island is good. I think the aesthetic of some of the technology on the island is questionable, especially the laboratory. Like, the laboratory looks like it's a Weyland-Yutani facility.
You know, I wish I had like a buzzer. Do I have like hey, it's like where's my sound effect? I don't know if you can hear those. There's like air horns going off.
The effort you put into doing that just made my whole podcast lag out for a second.
Yeah, criticism.
But no, I do think that the like and it does. I'll talk more about it later, but it does boil back to the decision to make it in-gen. Is when you go with something that has got such a grounded presence in the franchise. I think there's a very clear visual design, and I don't think the lab matched that visual design, which is a shame. But beyond that, the rest of the island I quite enjoyed. I think the characters are fun. I like Loomis, Zora, and Kincaid. Bloody hell.
He's about to do it.
Some
I saw his face. For anybody listening on the podcast feed, he was about to make a sad face.
Some of their character development is a little bit sloppy, but I think overall they're pretty decent characters, and I wouldn't mind spending another film with them.
Time out. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How many times have you seen this movie at this point of recording?
3 or 4.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's 4.
Because it took me a few, like, honestly, like 3 or 4 viewings to like really appreciate the dynamics between the crew, and kind of like the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily jive with like the back and forth, the banter, and the fun that they were having. But as I've seen it a bunch more times, I've come to really appreciate like those dynamics that they have, at least. So
can you ding me? So what I bet you didn't notice was the continuity error I sent you in a message that really annoyed you.
Wait, what was that? Wait, here, we need a bigger
one for
this.
The scarf on her back. Where one shot she's got the scarf on her back, and then the next shot it's just disappeared.
Yeah.
You are
um,
so welcome for that.
but like I really love those moments of getting to learn these characters and like see who they are. And I at first when I first viewed it, I was just like, I really don't like these interactions and these moments of calm.
Yeah,
But like I really do like those moments now, and I like the dynamic between Zora and Duncan. I think that's really cool. And then to see
yeah,
Zora emotional on the front of the boat, and then to see like Loomis come up and kind of deal with that trauma, and then like have Kincaid just like sipping his coffee on the side of the boat. Like those are moments that I like really
yeah,
appreciate as characters, and I think that that's like really some strong points for me now. That started off as kind of criticisms when I
yeah.
first saw the movie, because I know I've heard this a lot from a lot of people that like the beginning of the movie is boring or like hard to follow or not fun or anything like that. But I think it's turned into something pretty good for me personally.
Somebody take this man's tools away from him.
Hey, look, I've
Um,
got the crowd behind me, man. They're excited for me, so don't worry.
I do think I think that's a fair point. I think the one scene that still doesn't really gel for me is the scene where Zora's talking about the guy she lost. And that like the dialogue just feels a little bit forced. But I think
Uh-huh.
beyond that, the rest of those character moments on the boat are quite good. I think the one thing I would say, and it kind of goes in hand with what you were saying about the coffee, is that kind of shot where you've got the sunset and then there's
Oh,
like
I
another
love
shot
it.
with the boat. And I think, isn't there a
Mhm.
shot with the boat where you can see like the storms in the distance as well?
Yeah.
And there's like
Yeah, you can
lightning.
see
Like, yeah,
storm and like red. I think I don't know if it's the same shot, but there's also that red shot of like the sun, and it
yeah.
looks really good, like really good looking
I
stuff.
do think that like that is one of the big strong points for this film is the cinematography. Like Gareth Edwards, he knows how to shoot tropical environments in a way that captures their natural beauty. And I think that really shines through here. And what I really thought of was a lot of Fallen Kingdom. And do you remember like the deleted shot? There was a really nice deleted shot of Owen walking along a like stream, and he's just walking along a stream
Mhm.
bed, and there's like a dead dinosaur to one side, and it feels really tropical. That's exactly the feel you get from this whole film. So I feel like the cinematography is really good. I really like the designs of the creatures. I think the Titanosaur, the Quetzalcoatlus, Dolores, all really, really good designs. I actually really like the final design they settled on the Mutadon as well. I think it feels a little bit chunky. And it just like you can see its weight shifting around in a way that's not quite normal on the design, which is really cool. And you can predict what I'm about to say, Brad. I also really enjoy the
Oh,
Raptors,
okay, all right.
although they
False.
don't appear enough. Your
They don't.
timing there was nearly that. We'll work on that. We'll work on that
Well,
for
that's
the
I don't
next
I
run
don't
through.
see that. That's not really a criticism, right? Like the fact that they don't appear enough. That's just like a personal note, like that. Like yeah, they.
Yeah,
But like at the same time, I'm f- I'm fine with that. I think overall because. Well, I do think like they could have just not had the Mutadons. They could have just subbed in the Raptors completely.
yeah,
I do like the fact that they included the Mutadons and gave them kind of that same role. Would I have liked
yeah.
more Raptors? Sure, but I think if you look at even the little bit more that they would have given us, did you have a chance to watch like all the bonus features and stuff like that, or no?
Yes, yeah. Although weirdly,
There.
the edition I got, like we had this
Oh yeah,
discussion,
yeah,
didn't we? The
yeah.
version I have on Apple doesn't have the bonus features.
That's so weird. Yeah. It's I don't know, but the fact that like the scene that we were gonna get at one point, like the extended scene, is just like it's not really there's not really much happening there. So if it was a
No.
bigger scene, I would have been maybe more frustrated. But the fact that it was really just like a meet and greet, like kind of like oh hi and then
Yeah.
bye. There's really not much to it. I think I think it, and honestly, there is the deleted Mutadon scene. That entire scene is so good, and I think it really,
Yeah.
I think it should be in the movie. Personally, I think that scene is so good that it should be in the movie. And I think
Yeah.
it would have made the movie better, even better, because it adds dramatic tension. Like there's Zora hiding behind like a telephone, like just like a
Yes.
payphone kind of thing, and
Yeah.
like the quiet, calm, like trying to hang it up and carefully do that, and
Yeah, because you get
don't
the whole
disturb the
sequence of
mutodon.
her
It's so
trying to
good.
call for help as well, don't you?
Yeah,
And do you know what? I really wish we got that because it's a callback to The Lost World with the satellite phone. And I would
exactly.
have really loved that moment of, oh, it's the wrong person. How am I going to get help? That
Yeah.
would have been really cool to still see.
I love that, and I'm sad that that's not in the movie because that is such a good
Yeah.
deleted scene. The raptor one, I don't really need that to be in the movie, but the Mutadon extended sequence is so good, and I'm sad that it's not
Yeah.
there because it, and it's fine the way it is in the movie. To be honest, it is perfectly fine because the Mutadon comes in and it just begins as like a massive attack sequence, like fast paced and everything. But I liked the slower kind of, and it was only like a 2-minute scene. Like they really could have just thrown that in, and it really wouldn't have affected the movie too much. And I think it would have turned out.
I
even
think
better,
it was
so.
genuinely. I know with the raptor scene, it genuinely might have been a case of not having enough time for the CGI because the CGI wasn't finished, was it?
Yeah, I mean that's the case sometimes with deleted scenes, right? It's not always finished stuff, but yeah, why was it not finished? I don't, maybe because they didn't have enough time. I don't know. And certainly with this movie, if you listen to any of the commentaries, most like a running theme throughout the entire 2 commentaries was like, we did this as fast as humanly possible. So I hope you like it. I don't know if you like it because it's not out yet. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
But
so my final positive,
okay.
my final positive is there's some good elements of environmental storytelling sprinkled in. So the broken laboratory, and kind of like all the consoles destroyed and everything, the crashed helicopter. There's a couple of little moments where you get the sense that other stuff has happened on Isle Saint Hubert, and that is it for my positives for this film.
Okay. Well, let me ask you something about that facility because you're a guy that likes to, think about the logistics of that kind of stuff, and I'm confused by it because not necessarily. I mean, maybe this is a criticism, so I'll give myself a preemptive ding. But like, but I don't really understand the layout of that structure, and like we have the lab right where they're doing the work. We have the big first door, and then there's like a buffer room.
Yeah.
And then there's a big second door back there where they go in and meet the D-Rex in the beginning of the movie. I don't know what that second room is like. I really have no clue. Like, what is in that? What kind of holding facility is that? Because, because it later on in the movie, it's like a wide open outdoor facility that you can see. It's clearly outdoors. So I'm not really sure. Maybe it just honestly like it could have grown so big that it like destroyed the roof or something. But like I don't know, was there a roof or was there no roof?
Yeah,
Because I don't really understand the.
It looks that this is the whole thing. That whole facility looks like it's kind of underground, or at least under the mounds that you see over the facility.
Oh, yeah.
So I
There are the
do
mounds.
think that was. I do think that was all enclosed. I just think, sadly, they didn't think about it. I think in that moment, all they were thinking was, how do we show the Distortus Rex in the background? They weren't thinking of realistically, what does this damage look like to this facility? Because the thing that doesn't make sense to me there is if its doors open and all of the consoles are destroyed, you would assume it would have come through that area that all the scientists are in, destroyed that in the process, and then made its way out. It wouldn't have needed to destroy the ceiling or anything. So I don't think it was very well thought through.
Yeah, because it did end up in that smaller containment area. And we can assume, 17 years ago or whatever it was, that it was a smaller, creature. But yeah, I just wish I wish we had a little bit more context to like what that part of the facility looked like. This is kind of like the new age, like T-Rex paddock question, but to not even to a bigger extent, because like nobody cares about what this facility looked like other than me, really, and maybe you. But like, but like everybody, a lot of people care about like how did the T-Rex get up there? Like, so that's like a major thing that's like huge in that first movie. But for me, I'm just like I was just confused because I mean, if it is an outdoor facility, that's perfectly fine to have those two, the two locked doors between, like
Yeah.
like the T-Rex Kingdom was like an outdoor paddock like that, same kind of thing. But if you do look at some of the schematics that are on, like the computers go off and the alarms go off, and there is some
Yeah.
imagery there, and it looks like there's almost like individual little paddocks or something, and like an open area. So I am kind of confused. So I would love to know more about that, but I don't know that we'll get that information. But I was just wondering if you had any
So
thoughts regarding it. So
let's actually do a deep dive right now. Let me
ooh, he's
open
doing the
my
deep
Apple
dive.
TV app. I'm gonna open my Apple TV app and look at the overhead shot.
Oh, like the overhead shot of the
when it
island
flies
itself.
in and you can see
Yeah.
quite a bit of the facility.
And speaking of that, while you're looking that up, like there is that deleted extended intro or whatever that makes those cranes and everything that you do like around the island. It makes it make a little bit more sense. But I don't necessarily need that scene. I think that scene didn't really do much for me personally. It was fine. And I just, I didn't need to see all the expansion of the island for anything to make any more sense. But I personally like the way that they opened the movie instead of the way that the alternate opening opened the movie.
I mean, I'm gonna send you a screenshot.
I'm gonna take a look at
it. I absolutely hate that Apple TV doesn't let you screenshot stuff.
Yeah.
Hold up, there's an easy way I can do this.
He's gonna take a picture with his phone.
Yeah. Now I've got the old iPhone. That is actually really good quality for what that is as well.
Oh wow, yeah, it is. Okay,
so you can see it all goes underground. There's no like paddock fencing or anything around it. The only argument I could say against that is Zora does come through a perimeter fence when they're coming to the garage. So there is a perimeter fence along the garage, but I think that it's implied that it's just keeping the other animals away as opposed to a paddock for something.
Yeah, I don't even know, like, is this... Yeah, I'm not sure what that part of the facility is, to be honest. Is that where...
It all looks like a lot of geothermal gubbins, basically, doesn't it?
Looks,
like the entire facility.
It looks fantastic. I'm like, I'm loving what I'm seeing. It's giving me like Scarif vibes,
Yeah.
But I love it a lot. Without the beaches, but
oh wait,
I think this looks very cool.
There is a wider shot. Yeah, it's all. Oh, actually, interesting. we are literally doing analysis right here on the spot. But
yeah, so this side is probably.
I hate to say this
right?
to you. You're gonna have like if there's a way for you to bring these images up, the one I've just sent you. If you look in the trees to the far right hand side, that almost looks like it could be a paddock with an open top.
The far right? Well, the far right is the same as the other image that you just sent me. Right? Oh, no, sorry, a new picture, my bad.
Yeah. But then you can also see there's more there is more of like the buildings with the grass on top in the background.
And can we see anywhere in here like the convenience store, the mini mart, or anything? I don't see anything.
In the first photo I sent you, you can see the convenience store.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering, if that was the mini mart, because it's got the overhang of the gas station. You can see some of the gas pumps actually, and there is a warthog. Or whatever those cars are. It looks kind of like a warthog.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, over there. But and then it does go underground, which kind of, has the same, there is that whole underground sequence with the slopes and stuff that go down the hill and everything. But yeah, I don't know where that scene would be where Loomis got up on the bridge right there. Is the bridge that he gets on? No, it's not the one that goes across the water, right? No.
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 There's
But
like a garage bit that's further back. I'm just scanning through to look at the interior of the lab as well.
Mhm.
I
But
do,
do you think
do you know
it's
what?
this?
Shout out to Apple TV. I love being able to do this. It does. It looks like another door that goes deeper into the facility. It doesn't look like an outside door.
Yeah, it like when I look at that facility itself, it feels like it should be an indoor facility of some sort, or maybe
Yeah.
even underground. Like I think I would jive with that as well. So I'm not really getting outdoor structure is like right beyond those walls and doors in the first sequence, but obviously the second sequence you can tell. But I don't know. I really have no context of where it could be. I assume it's the sequence. It's like the paddock area on the left of that helicopter shot, but I don't know. I have no idea. There's so many of those trucks, man. There's lots of them.
Yeah, there are quite a few. So with this all said, Brad, shall I jump into my negatives list? Because this kind of ties into it a bit.
Yeah, man. Go ahead.
So I think there's inconsistencies throughout, which
here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna do this the whole time. Okay.
I think my biggest thing is the lack of explanation for Al Saint Hubert. So it didn't need to be much, but just a little bit of explanation of where this slots into the broader timeline, because everything that's established is Isla Sorna is where they're developing stuff for Jurassic World. Clearly, they're redeveloping stuff for Jurassic World on Isle Saint Hubert as well, because this has to be the Indominus prototype with the timeline. But they never bother to concretely connect it at all. And they never address the fact that this island appears to have some designs from 1993 with the fencing, etc., which would suggest that this island factors somewhere into the story there before they settled on Isla Nublar. It's all really sloppy. I am really cross at the fact that they spent so much time beforehand saying, oh, one of our commandments is to not go against canon, and then they handled it so sloppily. I think if you're going to be sloppy with it, just don't say anything at all beforehand. Like, you're setting an expectation that you're going to respect something that you then don't respect. I think what doesn't help this is the reliance on InGen. And this is something that I'm starting to get more and more annoyed with, because I think we saw it in Fallen Kingdom with calling back to Lockwood, and we see it again here. It feels like every couple of films the filmmakers go, oh my god, we need to go back to nostalgia, let's directly connect it to Jurassic Park. And there's ways to embrace the storytelling and filmmaking of Jurassic Park without it being a direct bloody connection. And this would have made so much more sense in my mind as a Biosyn island. It frustrates me that it was originally a Biosyn island. We've seen that from the storyboards. And then for whatever reason, they decided to go against that. I just don't think it was needed. I think the plot is unfortunately... Oh, he's turned the mic back on. The plot
I did.
is
I turned the mic back on. I just wanted to comment on the Biosyn of it all. Like, I don't know, like that we can say for sure that it would have been a Biosyn island just because a concept artist wrote that on there. But do you have something else?
Let's just say I have it on good authority.
Okay.
And that is all I can say.
Okay.
There are... I feel like the plot is quite paper thin in terms of the fact that it doesn't really drive anything forward. I would say it's kind of just a bit of a... Oh, well, actually, do you know what? It doesn't drive anything forward. It drives things backwards because it kills the dinosaurs. And they could have done this story without killing the dinosaurs. It basically just goes, hey, all of the dinosaurs are extinct, but now we're going to go to an island where it doesn't matter if they're extinct or not anyway. And we could have left that plot thread open, but we didn't want to, which feels very silly to me. And I also think that the story lacks any real senses of consequence. Like, I feel like Duncan should have died. It would have made so much sense if at the end of the story, where he was saying he was saving other kids because he lost his own kid, if he had sacrificed himself, that would have had real emotional weight. But of course, it's Jurassic World, it's kids friendly, everybody has to survive at the end of the film, apart from the side characters who are fighting to get eaten in the first 5 minutes. And then my last criticism is, once again, we had marketing that showed every character's death. That's it. I'm done.
There you go. The marketing is really tough to defend, just because they really did reveal a lot of this movie beforehand. But that's the case with all of them. I don't know if this is more so than any of the others, to be honest, but
at the start they were doing so well at showing so little, and then they suddenly showed everything.
They showed us one field for months upon months upon months, maybe a whole year. But yeah, then it expanded pretty greatly. I will say that, despite the side characters being the ones who died, in a lot of those boat sequences, I really did get, like, I found myself like growing fond of those characters. I think there's some sweet moments between the two.
Bobby Outwater got soon.
Not Bobby, like, he's funny. He just kind of like, I loved his like introduction where he's like, "Sorry, mate, I don't think we're gonna be able to do this," and it's like, "No, we already ran through it." He's like, "Oh, okay." Like, that's funny to me. I like that. So I've grown to really like that part, and the two like cooking inside the boat, like, that to me is like a really heartwarming scene, and I just love to see that they're so affectionate towards each other as like, partners in this whatever journey that they're on. And then to see that, ripped apart sucks. But with Duncan, I'm glad he didn't die. I'm totally cool with it. I love it because they foreshadowed it the entire movie. He's dying. He's dying the whole time. That guy is dying, and he doesn't. And I know it can be kind of tropey if you want, but like, I like the fact that he didn't die and they projected him dying the whole time. I was like, you really kind of got me there, because I definitely thought this guy was going to die. I mean, when we talked about the trailers and stuff like that and the synopsis, I always thought that he was going to be kind of a backstabber, but then as it started going on, I'm like, okay, maybe he isn't. Maybe Loomis will be. But then it kind of just turned out to be, which I actually appreciated quite well, was the fact that, like, what's his name? Martin Krebs. He was a bad guy, right? But like, not in a traditional like mustache twirly. Like, he did some bad stuff, right? And like, he wasn't like a villain in the same way that like other characters have been, like Mills, like literally murdering his, the guy he's watching after. And I know you could kind of maybe think of that's what he did with Teresa, but like, he just didn't do anything, which is like something we see a lot these days, is people not doing anything to help out. So yeah. And I think, obviously his self-interests were, taken into account there, but yeah, I think, I do like a lot of those characters, and I really like Martin Krebs. I thought I wouldn't like him. He's funny.
I was waiting for you to say I really like Xavier, and I would have cried.
No, dude, he's one of my least favorite Jurassic characters, maybe the least favorite of all time. No offense, because David did a great job. He pulled it off perfectly, creating a character that I just didn't really like. Sorry, ding ding ding. But I really like Martin Krebs. I thought I would dislike the character, but I really thought he was a lot of fun to watch, and kind of like, I like that he was like part of the team and like helping out. He was doing good work. Like, he actually was excited when they got the DNA. He was excited when they all did good things. And so it was a really cool balance I found with that character. So that to me worked out pretty well. And I'm not going to go too deep because I've said a lot of my stuff a ton of times, but speaking of some of that maybe some of the issues you had, I don't know, like I mentioned it earlier, this licensed global website had spoken with somebody at Universal about Wicked and about Jurassic, and there's some comments here about Jurassic, and it says like, for consumer products, this means blending classic iconography and beloved characters with film-specific designs and engaging products that resonate with multi-generational fans. Now, they're obviously just talking about like the product end of things, but that ties
I was
into
going to say it's
everything.
very much marketing speak, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely marketing speak. At the end of it, I'm just like, this last sentence like doesn't even make any sense. It just sounds like a bunch of nothing. But yeah, there's a part of it. Oh yeah, it says at its core, Jurassic World Rebirth is about reigniting that sense of awe and adventure while inviting fans to experience the next chapter in a bold, contemporary way. Do you find this to be a reigniting that sense? Or did you find a lack of awe and wonder throughout Jurassic World trilogy?
No,
No, me
no.
neither.
Like I think there were good moments. I I hate to say it, but I think my biggest issue with Rebirth is it took so long to get off the islands and to think, okay, how does this story evolve? And then Rebirth goes straight back to let's put it on an island. And I just think that it's the most creatively bankrupt thing that they could have done. And I know that's really harsh, but I just think like that there's this constant, and to be fair to Universal, Jurassic isn't the only IP that's done it. I think Marvel has struggled with this quite a bit as well, which is there's this constant sense that to hit the nostalgia of the films that people loved, we have to do the exact same thing as those films. And I think that's where people go wrong. It's not, you don't have to do the same thing, it's taking those ingredients and using them in the same way. And that's where I think there's an issue here, is rather than taking some of the elements of Jurassic Park, so I'd say like the wonder between a child character and a dinosaur, the horror and tension of an encounter with a theropod in a tight environment, rather than taking that and putting it into a new environment, they've basically used the same format that existed before. And the issue that you have with that is it worked with Jurassic Park because that was the first film, right? And then everything's been built on the back of that. But there's now this narrative thread that's been built over the last few films that you then just can't go straight back to the place that Jurassic Park was. You have to be more creative than that, I think.
Yeah, they've been really trying to recapture that, like, apparently the awe and wonder, but like you can't do it again. It was the first time, and it's not even the awe and wonder of Jurassic Park is honestly at the time I feel like it's less so about the
Yeah.
dinosaurs and more about the creativity and the visuals and the
Yeah.
thing, everything you're seeing right there, that you can't believe that is actually on film. Like, how is
Yeah,
that
it's
not? How
actually
did
there.
you not
Yeah.
create a real dinosaur? It's less so about the movie, I feel like, and more so about the creative process. And that's not
Yeah.
something you could ever capture with the Jurassic World franchise because
No.
it's not
I think you're
necessarily
spot on,
possible. Like,
Brad.
yeah.
I also think there's the element to what you're saying of actually you can't recapture somebody's experience of seeing something for the first time, and you shouldn't keep trying to recapture that moment because it loses value each time you do. And the thing I
Hmm.
find really ironic with all of this, I suppose, is that the way Mills is written in Fallen Kingdom is almost a direct commentary on this because he's talking about how, I think it's Mills, or it might be Malcolm. It might be Malcolm's speech where he says that, like genetic. No, it's Malcolm, and he says genetic power has now been unleashed. You can't put it back in the box, and that's exactly where I think you are with a franchise like this. Is once you've had that Brachiosaur moment, you can't put that back in the box and do it again. You just have to work out where to go next, and that's where I think the issue is rather than being a well, rather than having the approach to storytelling where it's okay, how do we take the next step that honors this but does something different? What I think we've seen with this film is going, okay, how do I do this moment again but with a different creature or with a different character or with a different scene? It's like that's fundamentally missing the point that capturing the theme and the tone and the feel of something nostalgic is different to just redoing the nostalgic thing.
Hmm. Oh, 100%. I like that. I like that a lot. Because we did get a clone of the Brachiosaurus scene, right? With the
Yeah.
Titanosaurs. Obviously different circumstances, and I do like that scene a lot. But it's got the same music. It's trying to capture that exact same feeling, which it's like you mentioned something about like trying to capture that and doing things over and over again, and like that's that's something I go through often with my kids. And like I love movies so much, and I want them to love these movies that I love. Right? Every parent, I feel like, goes through this. With whether it's sports or movies or whatever. Like I feel like you want them to like your team. Oh, they're not going to like your team. They're going to like the other team. My kids like the Phillies, and I like the Yankees. And I'm like, this is we're speaking different language here. What are we doing? But
the only thing I know
movies,
in that context, though, is Philly is a cheesesteak, right?
Yeah, I guess. Well, it's because it's in Philly. But when it comes to movies, like I've tried to show them some important movies, and I think others have hit. Like some have hit, some have not. And I find it really difficult to like get them into some things, but other things work perfectly fine. Like Marvel has worked like tremendously. Like they are totally into that. And there is actually, where is that part of this article? Because I was talking about this the other night. Yeah, it's just, I don't know if it's this part or not, but like our consumer products and retail campaigns are central to bringing that vision to life, expanding the franchise's reach, and deepening its cultural relevance for years to come. And it says parents who grew up with passion for the films are now sharing that love with a new generation, creating a impactful cross-generational bond and a whole new fan base. And to some extent that's true. But like my kids are absolutely not having the same experience that I had as an 8-year-old. Watching Jurassic Park, it's just not the same. Now, Jurassic World Rebirth was one of my son's favorite movies that he saw this year. We've seen a bunch of stuff, and that was one of his favorites. He had a great time. He saw it twice in the theaters, and he had an excellent time. But it wasn't that Jurassic Park level impact moment that it was for me. So I think they're overselling this generational bond. I mean, I know, there's definitely parents, and I'd love to hear from parents out there that are having that same experience with their kids, that either it's same experience as me or the same experience that they had as a kid. Like it's working out. It's working perfectly fine. Like their kids are loving it just as much as they did. I found that maybe it's just because I'm doing this all the time. My kids like don't necessarily care about Jurassic all that much. Like they like watching the movies with me. They've watched them all, and they've watched all the Chaos Theory, Camp Cretaceous stuff with me. And they I've tried though for years to give them every dinosaur toy that I've ever gotten. We were talking about it, I think, before we started, about like, I don't have really any of the core toys like up on my shelves. Like that's all in bins for them to play with. And there's some in my closet, but like most of them are for them to play with, and they don't necessarily care. But I do also come across kids in Target that are like, dude, I want to get this. I want to get this toy. Can we get this one? So I know those kids do exist, but I feel like they're maybe overselling like how deep and rich this impact is, generationally speaking. And I know that a lot of these companies now are doing this, and I said it on the live stream the other day, a cradle to the grave program where it's like, hey, you can watch, hey, you were just born, watch this. We've got Lego content for you to watch. We've got that what happened with that Jurassic World Explorers thing? Did that ever come out? That like, wasn't there supposed to be some, like, I don't remember what it was even at this point. But
the whole premise of that show was probably kids in the wild interacting with dinosaurs, and then Universal went, "Oh, we're killing them, so you better not release that."
I don't know what that was, and that's gone. But that was like the preschool kind of age frame, age range there. And like it's like get your kids into it now, right? And then they grow up a little bit. You got Camp Cretaceous. They grow up a little bit. You got Chaos Theory, then you got the movies, you got all this stuff, and then you're dead, right? So it's all that, like, it goes from being born to they're gonna keep making stuff when you're far gone from this planet. And I don't know that
Yeah.
it's creating that impact that they're looking for totally, in my point of view.
No, I think you've tapped into something really interesting though, which is I think the part it all comes down to culture at the time as well, right? And I think part of the reason why Jurassic Park works so well is because ultimately it's about science that we don't understand at a time in the 90s where there were a lot of scientific breakthroughs that were happening that weren't necessarily that understood by lots of us. I say that as if I was alive, I wasn't. But they, like people didn't really understand the news a lot of the time around scientific discoveries, or indeed around the implementation of computer systems and things like that. So it resonated with people at the time. I think what Universal needs to do and what they're failing to do is take the elements of Jurassic Park, so take the dinosaurs, take the park infrastructure if you want, and those things, and think, how do you tell it in a contemporary story that's relevant to people today? So is there a way to do a Jurassic story that incorporates an allegory about AI and our over-dependence on it, for example? Or is there, like we were saying earlier, a way to do a Jurassic story that incorporates inaction on important topics? Like, what happens if the story around the dinosaurs going extinct isn't the equator? The story around the dinosaurs being extinct is not enough people care about the fact they're getting poached. That then becomes more of an emotionally relevant story to audiences today. And that's what I think good storytellers miss, is it's not just the components of the story, it's the context of the time you're telling the story and what's relevant to the audience who's consuming it. And the next good Jurassic film will be a film that takes those elements and knows how to use them in a way that articulates a theme that's important to audiences today.
Yeah, I think I talked about this. I might have, because I did cut a bunch of stuff from the episode with Aaron. Sorry, Aaron. But I did end up cutting some stuff, and there was a point where I had made like about the DC universe is doing like they're trying to reassemble things, right? They're trying to pick up pieces scattered throughout the old DCEU and bring them in slowly to a cohesive universe with the DCU.
Yeah.
And they're doing a great job. And I think, you had just touched on that, like create stories that are relevant to today and everything. And James Gunn is doing
what
exactly
they're doing
that.
With Peacemaker. Yeah.
It's
exactly.
incredibly relevant, unfortunately, and
and
they made some incredible points in the most recent episode that just aired, and it's poignant and it matters, and she's really trying to tie things together. But on the other end of that scale, with us here at Jurassic, like it feels like we're going the other way. Like we had cohesiveness, and then it's scattering up. Now it's just it's the it's just a mess at this point. So I feel like it's going the opposite way, canonically speaking, like franchise wise, and I don't like that outlook. But I don't know. I mean, all of this article that I was reading through, it's all like very corporate speak stuff. But like, I just I don't know if it's being viewed through the lens. Here it says the Rebirth lens still has a cohesive Jurassic World franchise identity, which has worked for the team's consumer products professionals for decades. Having such a classic theme for consumer products like dinosaurs and making it have a recognizable brand identity could prove a challenge for many. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of like boring.
I think the point is,
and
I don't want to like labor the point, so I'm happy for this to be like the close of this if you want, because I think otherwise we could just go on about this. But I think the thing for me is Jurassic is on the precipice, and if they need to be aware of that, they need to not just think that same old is gonna do. And I think that's what I'm really scared of, because although I have my issues with this film, I think you have your issues with this film, it did well financially. And so Universal's going to see that as a green light to just do more quicker. Look at what's happened with Star Wars. Look at what's happened with Marvel, especially the performance of Fantastic Four, which I would argue was a step up for MCU compared to some of the films before. But what had happened is the MCU had already crossed the Rubicon of diminishing returns financially, so that film didn't do as well financially. And I think there's a real risk that Jurassic will get to that point if they don't course correct it and think, okay, actually, how do we keep it cohesive? Because I think fans will ride it out for a little while, but then eventually fans will start looking elsewhere, and they'll then have a really tough uphill battle to get people back in seats. Like Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, absolutely deserve to make more money than they did. They were fundamentally good films, but because people felt so burnt out at that point, they didn't perform how they should have done. And I think Jurassic could easily go in that direction.
You know, it's interesting. I'm doing a whole rewatch with my son and my wife. We're doing, you know, movie nights and stuff, and we're going through the entire thing. We literally started, I think, like in December of last year, watching Iron Man, and then
Nice.
you know, we've gone through. So now we are on Guardians of the Galaxy 3 tonight.
Wow.
So
Okay.
we're all the way up to that now, and that's going to be an interesting one to watch. But like looking through the saga and just kind of like seeing the cohesiveness and whether it was as disconnected as I felt it was or not. You know, I really like what they've done. Like I have very little issue with these movies, and I'm not really sure. Like, I'm really struggling with like, what is the problem? Like, I know Disney Plus came along and really convoluted things with very long content that people didn't necessarily care about. 2021 came around and released 4 movies, which was huge. I mean, like, why so many things? But they were big. Like, Spider-Man was huge, one of the biggest ones that they've ever done.
Yeah.
But like, there's a small, not even a full, I can't count them on fingers, duds, you know, in the past 5 years. Like, it's Ant-Man Quantumania, bad, right? Thor Love and Thunder, did not like. Eternals is not great. But like, outside of that, they're fairly solid to great movies. Like, everything else, like, I've really enjoyed since Endgame. So I really struggle with this concept of they're bad movies. They're garbage. Like, nobody likes them anymore. And
I think I know what it is, though. I think in that situation, it is sadly it's the industry is, oh, we can keep making money, so we keep making films. I've said this to people so many times. Can you imagine how powerful it would have been if they'd left a couple of years after Endgame? If they just let that settle and then said, okay, we're gonna now start the next phase. I think sometimes.
Because I was looking at, like, the other day, I was trying to figure this out. So I went, I have a spreadsheet of all of the Marvel movies. So now we're into Marvel podcast territory here. And this is the spreadsheet is mostly for when I know like what movie's coming up for movie night. So so I can refer to it and be like, oh, we've got this one coming up. And but the other day I was like, I need to go and see like, what is the timeline of events here? When did all of these movies release? And like, I forgot that like Incredible Hulk, which was like felt kind of adjacent. It was tied in for sure, but like that was 2008, and we didn't get another film until 2010. 2 years.
Yeah, there was a massive gap there.
So that's wild.
That's
like,
really annoying.
they should have done that.
I don't know where it's gone, and I'm now like frantically looking through my book because I've probably misplaced it. But when you said we've become the Marvel podcast, I have a 3D print of the ISA from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I was going to pull it up and be like, yeah, we're the Marvel show,
man.
but I don't know where it's gone.
I'll pull this. I've got this just the other day, and it's so awesome.
Nice.
It's so good. But
dude, where have I put that?
I think that there's a lot of issues at hand with that franchise, and I think you know, I heard another podcast that's just like a regular movie TV reviewing podcast talk about the connections between like Peacemaker and Superman and how it directly leads into each other, and I think that's great. And they're like, Marvel hasn't done anything like that ever, and I'm like, that's not true though. Like, they absolutely have. And I think, did you get a chance to watch Marvel Zombies?
Not yet.
Dude, it's fantastic. I really love it. And if something like that, like a what if movie or something had come, like, and given us team ups, or just if they had done one team up movie in the range of the past 5 years, it would have changed the entire trajectory. I think if they had like
100%. Yeah.
subbed out the Eternals or something, or Thor, and like thrown in a team up movie with Shang-Chi and Miss Marvel and all these people, because what you get in Marvel Zombies it's pretty great. It's an excellent team up show, and you got to watch it. So,
I think that is the thing. It's like it all boils back to these studios trying to have their cake and eat it too. And I think in that situation they went, "Oh, we've got to have a team up movie. So what is your setup for the new Avengers and the Avengers?" Oh, yeah. You basically get kind of a hint that Sam Wilson's going to go away and set it up at the end of Captain America, and then that's it. And then by the time you get to the time skip in Thunderbolts, it's, there's these 2 full Avengers teams set up. Whereas in the original Phase 1, 2, and 3, you get the 4 standalone films that lead into the Avengers, and then you spend more time between Avengers and Civil War, or Age of Ultron and then Civil War, with like more of the intermingling between the teams and things, which is where I think it is symptomatic of the streaming culture, unfortunately, which is everyone is trying to produce stuff quicker because that's where content consumption was during the pandemic, especially. But I don't think it's there anymore. I think people are longing for things that maybe take longer to come out but are higher quality. And I think Star Wars has kind of learned that lesson now, when you look at the fact that they've pretty much wiped the slate clean and they're working on a couple of projects at a time. I think my concern is with their track record, bringing it back to Jurassic, Universal might look at the fact that Rebirth grossed a lot of money and think, okay, quicker turnarounds for these films with a less in-depth connection is the way to go. And I think that would be a mistake longer term.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track there. I feel like that's probably what they're going to do. But, if they want to just shoot for 2028, that would be fine. Give us a few years here to relax and chill for a bit. But who knows? It could be earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could
I'll
foresee
see you in cinemas next summer.
I don't know about that, but I could see a 2027 release if they really wanted to push for it. But But who knows, man? And you know what? Let's wrap up our Marvel podcast. I appreciate all of the and look, we could do this. Like we just talked like pretty legit like about Marvel for like 10 minutes there, so we can.
I hope you guys have enjoyed the one episode of our Marvel podcast.
Yeah, it's a spin-off. On April Fool's. I don't know if it falls on the release.
You could almost
day.
Say, Brad. You could almost say, right, that people listening to our podcast have just got a flavour of what if Brad and Tom did a different podcast. The irony is that made me jump as you played it, because I wasn't expecting it.
Oh, sorry. Well, Tom, where can people find you? What are you doing? What are you up to? What's going on in your life? Let people know.
Big thing I'm going to shout out today, actually, as opposed to my personal channels, is Jurassic Collectibles, because Jurassic Collectibles is at 94,900 subscribers now.
Ooh.
And I would really like us to get to 100,000. So if you enjoy merchandise reviews, please come and check that out. I've had a lot of people asking me about toy photography recently and how I do it. So I'm planning on working on quite an in-depth video. It's going to break it down into like chapters of prop choices, setting up scenes, camera choice, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping to work on that in the next few weeks and have quite a comprehensive guide to toy photography for people to check out.
Love that, dude. Can't wait to watch. Is that
basically
all?
The unofficial Beyond the Gates? That's everything, I'd say.
You're really trying to get in there, huh? You're really trying to make it happen.
Yeah. I was like, how do I make it happen? I will basically do an episode.
I think they've lost your number, dude. They don't know it. They don't have any clue how to contact you. So,
I actually think when I looked at the Universal page, there was something about being blocked or something. Like, I have no idea what that was.
They must have blocked at Tom_Jurassic from Instagram, so they couldn't see your great photography. But man, anything else? Anything else to plug, or are you good?
That's it. There is,
That's it.
no more audio dramas at the moment. Yeah,
He's done. This is his retirement
I'm
episode.
done.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. It's been good, and we'll talk again actually when
Yeah.
Camp Cretaceous or whatever the show's called, Chaos Theory.
Camp Cretaceous. What?
Chaos Theory season 4 comes out, and whether we get, maybe, I'm sure we'll get like a deeper story trailer before. When does that
Yeah.
come out? November?
Good
So
question.
I think it's November 20th or something like that. So around about there, and maybe soon enough we'll have screeners or something like that. Usually 3-4 weeks, something like that out. So sometimes less. Hopefully not less, because it's going to be the big finale.
Let us know, and it may end up being a game trail episode, and we may have to get other people involved. But let us know if you want a deep dive into Jurassic World Evolution 3.
Yeah,
that will be out
absolutely. Soon. And also, like, when it comes to Chaos Theory, I was coming up with this idea the other day on the stream. Like, I want to do what we usually do, is what Universal, or not Universal, but what DreamWorks is doing, by saying like, hey, like, hit us up with a note, 3 to 4 sentences of what you think. Hit us up with some voicemails of 3 to 4 minutes long, or whatever, and send us your thoughts. But this is like, save this for after you've seen the season. So I want to know.
What we want is a 3 to 4 minute long recording talking about the specific facility structure of Al Saint Hubert, where that doorway in the Distortus Rex paddock goes, honestly, and what the rest of that network looks like.
Please do so. I would love people's thoughts on that. Because Jen came back recently on the mailbag, so we're going to be doing that kind of stuff, and we'll do some. At the end, I think at the end of Chaos Theory, we'll put out like a big, like, farewell, like, thank you kind of episode or something like that. So just hit us up and call our voicemail line 732-825-7763, or you could hit our email box, JurassicParkPod@gmail.com, and you can send voice memos or written content or whatever you want. So whatever it is, if it's about the island structures, or if it's about your thoughts on something else, please do so. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, your thoughts on Marvel, so we can start the new Marvel podcast.
That as well. Let's go. I'm down.